Hello and welcome to Today's World with DTR. I'm Dima Risk, your host. This is the show where we share news and interviews with experts on what in the world is going on and to keep you updated. This episode is partially sponsored by KM Dental Design, your go-to smile design studio for aesthetic dentistry, implants, surgery, and much more. Today's episode is on Sudan. This year, a civil war has continued. On one side is the Sudanese armed forces, and on the other side, the Rapid Support Forces, with both sides accused of war crimes. Sudan is also the world's largest humanitarian crisis, with over 30 million people that require aid and over 150,000 people have died. Joining me today is Abdallah Hussain, a Sudanese journalist and TV correspondent, currently serving as TRT World Service Correspondent, previously worked as Press TV's Sudan correspondent and contributed reporting to Al Jazeera English on developments in the Sudan war. Hello, Abdullah, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dima, and I do appreciate hosting me today and to talk about the most important issue right now, which is Sudan. Thank you, Dima.
Absolutely. So, first of all, Abdullah, I want to jump in. For the Sudanese people, it's all gone from hope to democracy to what we're essentially witnessing today. I want to start off by talking about the roles of the Sudanese armed forces and the rapid support forces. In the chaos that's currently happening in Sudan, what are sort of each of their roles? If you want to go sort of back to the basics and the beginning.
Mhm, mhm. So the basics and the beginning schema always takes us back to the morning of April 15th, 2023, where we heard the first shot in Sudan, and specifically in the southern parts of Khartoum, the capital, the Sudanese capital, Khartoum. So far, Dima, there are multiple narratives about the roles of either a warring party, either if it's the Sudanese armed forces or the paramilitary, the rapid support forces. There is a narrative that says, and it's also supported by some evidence that the paramilitary are the one who shot the first bullet, which ignited the Sudanese conflict, the most catastrophe that's going on the planet right now. And there are also who accuses the Sudanese army, the Sudanese armed forces, that they are behind this war, that some factions they were the reason. They molested the paramilitary. They're trying to do something in the southern parts of Khartoum, and they went into fight with several units from the paramilitary. Something led to another, and boom, we have the Sudanese conflict on hand. But I don't think that it's this simple. It's not like one bullet that led to this catastrophe. We cannot support either narrative, but I believe we can have some evidence that can lead to another narrative, which is
Absolutely.
the paramilitary were mobilizing several units just before the war ignites in Sudan. The paramilitary also moved towards several parts in the country. They mobilized several units from the armored division, troops from the paramilitary, the rapid support forces. They went without notifying the Sudanese armed forces, which is the highest authority in the country. They answer to the highest commander on the country, which is the Sudanese Armed Forces commander, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan. So they didn't notify anyone, and this is supported by evidence, Tima. They didn't notify anyone, and they went.
Wow.
Some people can say rogue, but they went without notifying the authorities with their armed division to one of the airports in the northern parts of the country under some allegations that they are trying to do something in the northern parts of the country, something to do with the Egyptian Air Force, which is stabilized there in the northern parts of the country, some sort of a joint training program between the Sudanese armed forces and the Egyptian armed forces. However, this might be as a pretext for igniting a war, but they mobilized several armored vehicles also inside the capital, and this was a strange thing. It's a strange things
Yeah, absolutely.
for the ordinary civilians.
Yeah.
Yeah, to wake up in the morning and see vehicles and tanks and bullets. Something is strange. That there is something about to happen sooner or later.
So
And
there was
on
a
the
sign basically that something was
yeah,
about.
yeah,
This is,
Dima.
and people were concerned, right?
Yes, people were concerned. As I remember, the same week, I believe it's the same month where the when the war ignited in Sudan, there has been a strange movement in the capital.
Mm.
So many paramilitary troops are roaming the city. So many vehicles are roaming the city. So many checkpoints that belongs to the paramilitary. And the army said that they haven't authorized such movement. They haven't authorized such movement for the paramilitary, and they did notify them before the engagement with them in the southern parts of Khartoum. The first bullet here, they did notify the paramilitary that you are moving without your permission.
Right.
We are the highest authority here, so why are you moving? You have 72 hours to go back to your camps. And if anything else happened, this would be considered as being rogue against the highest authority on the land, which is the Sudanese armed forces. So,
So do you
anyways,
think,
you as
sorry, do you
Mhm.
think then that that was a reason for them to act the way they did? So
Well, the
both.
science team says that some party or some people
Mm,
wanted to have war.
mm-hmm.
There was someone who wanted to have war.
To start
Someone
this
wanted
war.
to ignite this war. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And just a couple of months before the war broke out in Sudan, there has been reports that the paramilitary's commander have purchased several lands, several homes, several lands in, I believe, Jabra, which is in the southern parts of Khartoum.
Right.
And they use these places to hide their vehicles. So they were expecting something.
There was something that was going to happen. They knew.
Yeah.
But I think also, I think this brings me on to the next question, because the biggest thing we're hearing is genocide, war crimes. The RSF is doing this. The RSF is doing that. And so, is what's happening a genocide, or is it simply war crimes that we're seeing?
That's the point
Yeah.
here. I spoke before with HRL,
Mm-hmm.
Yale Humanitarian Labs
Yeah.
research, and they said a very interesting point. They said that the paramilitary, the RSF, are continuing their campaign, the campaign that they have started back in 2003, 2004.
Right.
The same campaign that one of their leaders is being prosecuted, and I believe he already was found guilty in the ICC,
Yes. Absolutely.
Koshape.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So they are continuing their campaign according to HRL. They consider that the RSF started a genocidal campaign back in 2003, 2004 against specific ethnicities in Darfur region.
Right.
And here we're talking about Zaghawa, we're talking about 4 tribes. So there are some tribal factors that they have something to do with the paramilitary. The paramilitary wanted these factions to be eliminated from Darfur region.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to have some specific ethnicities left and the others to be annihilated in Darfur region. And they did, by the way.
Right.
They annihilated thousands. And that was by the orders of the government then, the
So
Omar al-Bashir government, the ousted president. So they have something to do with this. And
absolutely. There's
yeah, and
massacres.
we
There's
cannot
massacres.
deny.
There's massacres
Mhm,
taking
yes.
place, and we are. I was reading on the Guardian, 60,000 people have been killed in uh, the Al Fashir apparently, and this actually brings me to Al Fashir, if that's okay, if we
Mhm.
could move on a bit.
Yeah.
What happened on the 26th of October was kind of huge. Some people were unaware of what was happening in Sudan, and it had people asking more questions and wanting to know more about the situation.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
so this is also something that wasn't really reported on. But why do you think, and why now?
Well, al-Fashir was the only remaining stronghold, Dima, for the Sudanese armed forces. If the paramilitary managed to take down al-Fashir, then it's the capital of North Darfur region. So by taking al-Fashir, eliminating the factions inside, eliminating any sign of resistance, now they have consolidated their entire control over all of Darfur region. The thing that they have wanted all that time since 2003, and they did it, Dima. Unfortunately, they have done this. Now, currently, they are controlling the 5 states of Darfur region, and also they extended their territories to another region, which is Kordofan region, the oil-rich region, Kordofan region. Now they have control over the entire western parts of Kordofan, West Kordofan state, and they are fighting now over the next 2 states, which is North Kordofan and South Kordofan. So they are not sitting still for only taking Darfur and say, yeah, we managed to do so. No, they want to take they want more territory, and they did manage to take more territory. Dima, the most important thing here is al-Fashir, during the siege of al-Fashir, RSF were imposing a siege. I believe it's quite on the news.
Yes,
were imposing
absolutely.
a siege for more than a year, on the people of al-Fashir. There were more than 250,000 inside al-Fashir, 250,000 people.
Yes.
More or less in al-Fashir.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I heard on the news. Yes. And you could see something from space, according to the Humanitarian Research Lab.
This is the most concerning thing, Dima.
Yeah.
Only tens of thousands managed to flee to the northern state, and some others managed to flee to Tawila, which is still inside North Darfur region.
Yeah.
So what happened? The question is, what happened to the rest?
Yeah.
Where are the rest?
Yeah. Where are
there are more than about more than 100,000 people left inside al-Fashir. Where are they now? We don't have any footage. There are no journalists inside al-Fashir, no cameras inside al-Fashir. What's going on inside al-Fashir? No one knows. No one knows. We only have the HRL footage, the satellite imagery showing blood all over al-Fashir, and this is concerning. Mass graves, and this is concerning.
This is very concerning. Absolutely.
This can be the most horrific act in the modern history.
Wow.
Tens of thousands annihilated in a matter of days. Dima, they executed, I believe this is the only documented thing, they executed more than 2,000 people on the first 48 hours of raiding al-Fashir.
Goodness me, this is very, very concerning.
And that's it. Yeah, that's it. We don't have any documentation left. Nothing left. It went blank. No one knows what's going on inside al-Fashir. The paramilitary says that it's quite safe. People are returning home. We are spreading safety here. We have the federal police on the ground. But show us that. Statements are not enough.
Show us what's going on. And people, because there is also, if you want to focus on the, move on to the humanitarian situation, it's beyond now. It's like I mentioned in the introduction, I was saying it's like the world's biggest humanitarian crisis at the moment, with famine being declared by the UN. Can we talk a bit more about this? Is this the deliberate starvation of the Sudanese people? Or is it, man-made and a weapon of war? There's multiple things you can go in the direction of.
This is the most unfortunate thing here about this point, Dima, that they are using hunger as a weapon in this war. They are weaponizing hunger. This is against each and every single resolution by the UN.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, they are using hunger as a weapon. They did use hunger as a weapon for more than a year in al-Fashir, until they managed to take the city to its knees. And they entered the city, raided the city, and God only knows what's happening inside al-Fashir.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're using the same thing again, Dima, in South Kordofan. They are trying to take the capital of South Kordofan, which is Kadugli. They are imposing a siege on the city even before al-Fashir, but no one is talking about Kadugli. They are imposing a siege on the city of Dalanj, which they kept bombarding for the last week. They killed medical workers in that city with drone attacks, with artillery, with heavy weapons. They killed tens of people inside the city. But as I said, there are no journalists there. There are no media
really
operating in that.
On what's going on. So we don't know what to believe or what to kind of expect to come out of these things, unless someone's on the ground
we
really
can't even
important.
imagine, Dima, we can't even imagine when we will get the permission as journalists and as media organizations to go to
To go
South
there. Yeah.
Kordofan or to go to North Darfur to see by our eyes what happened there. You know, even the UN representative wasn't allowed to enter Al Fashir. He was only restricted to some parts of North Darfur.
Because obviously
He
there's
wasn't
something
allowed to
bigger
see Al Fashir.
happening. There's something bigger than
There is
and
something
shocking that,
happened in Al Fashir.
yeah, that
In Al
nobody
Fashir,
knows about.
some analysts here, yeah, some local analysts here suggest, Dima, that if we had the opportunity to see what happened in Al Fashir, to look by
Mm.
our own eyes, we will witness the most severe, the most mass killing incidents that took place in modern history.
Wow.
This can't be, yeah, we
Wow.
can't even fathom what happened there.
I
I
mean,
mean, I believe the HRL footage are quite enough for now. You see blood on the streets, mass
oh my
graves
God.
distributed in the streets, in homes, and in every single part of Al Fashir. I spoke with several IDBs, Dima, in the northern parts of the country, where they said they were killing people in front of their eyes. They were executing children in front of their eyes.
Goodness me.
Yeah, some of the fathers, I can't remember his name, but he said that I cannot erase this memory from my children.
Of
I don't
course.
know what to do. They saw people being murdered in front of their eyes.
So it's
They saw
just
people,
something beyond. It's a
yeah.
catastrophe. Absolutely. And I also was reading women are being used, you know, as like a weapon of war, let's say. So we're hearing all sorts of stories at checkpoints, inappropriate touching, rape, and just general violence against women. We're seeing footage that, it's live streamed to us. We're seeing all these, even some of the soldiers, they're posting it and sharing it. It's very shocking, but, is that the case at the moment that's what's happening?
It's not the first time for such thing to happen,
Mm,
Dima. It's not just in El Fasher. Although it can be considered as a catastrophe in El Fasher, but it also happened in other parts of the country.
yeah.
It happened in Zamzam IDP camp, where they raped the IDPs. It happened also in Khartoum, in the capital. When they raided the capital, they raped several women here. They raped several. It doesn't matter how old are you. It doesn't matter if you're a child or an elderly. They will rape whatever they can see, Dima.
Yeah.
We listened to broken women who were
Mm.
crying. They said that they raped children in front of them.
Oh
They
God.
raped mothers in front of their children. They raped the elderly. They even raped grandmothers, Stima. Yeah, and it cannot even
Can't be
be
worse than
I don't
this.
know, understood.
Yeah,
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 it
yeah.
can't be even worse than
Absolutely.
this.
Because it's
There has been a story in Khartoum, in the
mm,
capital, when they had control over most of the capital. They took several women, and I believe they were teenagers. They took them captive in one of the hospitals, I believe, or it was a hotel in the center of Khartoum, and they kept raping and raping and raping them on a daily basis,
goodness me.
collectively raping them. And I can't even tell you, Dima, how do these women feel? I can't even tell you how they can talk
They
about what
must be
happened.
traumatized for the rest of their lives.
There have been reports, Dima, that some of them committed suicide. Unfortunately, they couldn't understand, Dima. They couldn't live their life after what happened. They saw enough.
This is what
They
we
saw
don't
enough.
hear about. This is what's not talked about often, and which is very important to highlight. But also, there are, I think, I was reading also the UN was saying there are some countries that are enabling this to happen in Sudan, right? So I would just maybe want to talk a bit about the roles of other countries, just particularly about enabling this to happen, because obviously um, there's a lot that we're hearing and we don't know. There's
Mhm.
no evidence. Countries are rejecting whatever's been said. So can you tell us a bit more about that as well?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's just, the saddening thing, Dima, is that there are proofs. There are some documents.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Sudanese government I believe they have done everything. They don't have anything much to do.
Yeah.
They provided every evidence they can provide to the ICJ, to the ICC, to the UN. They did whatever they can, but no
Nothing's
one
happening.
answers,
Yeah.
Dima.
No, nothing's
No,
happening.
no, nothing is happening.
Yeah.
And I believe the reason is that you're playing here with one of the global actors. You're playing here with someone who's dominant over the countries, over the UN, over so many countries that you're playing with, and it's with the main strategic ally for the US in the region. You're playing with someone who's purchasing weapons like candy.
Absolutely.
So yeah, someone who has the upper hand over your neighbors, the neighboring countries. So
Even if
literally,
these
there are.
countries are rejecting the fact that this is the case, even if countries are saying, well, we're not involved because we actually have policies with Sudan and we're selling weapons to them, regardless of that, you think there's something that's happening and people involved in this at a larger scale.
Yes,
Yeah.
there have been documents, Dima. We covered several stories here of
Yeah.
weapons found in RSF areas after they left Khartoum. The weapons were marked by several countries' logos and several countries' names, dates and stamps and
Yeah.
documents. So yeah, someone has smuggled these, whether with the knowledge of these countries or not. Someone has smuggled these weapons. Someone gave these weapons. I mean, I believe the RSF had the privilege of using drones, suicidal drones, strategic drones, even before the army does. The army didn't even know how to use drones at the beginning of the war. The RSF were the ones who brought the drones in Sudan.
So
So
it's like that
who
level
gave?
of, it's like, how did this happen? They don't even know how to use this, right?
Yeah, who gave a paramilitary some sophisticated weaponry
Yeah,
that even
how
the
did they
national
disappear?
army doesn't have? Yeah, it's quite it's
Scary.
obvious. It's obvious,
Yeah.
Dima. We found boxes
Yeah.
with names on the
Yeah.
boxes, with
Yeah.
documents for the people. Yeah, so it's
Absolutely.
quite obvious, but no
But
one is naming anything. No one is saying anything, Dima. They are afraid.
Yeah.
Probably they are afraid for their positions, for their deals with that country. They
Okay.
are quite afraid.
Okay. Maybe because we don't have a lot of, we don't have actual kind of, we're not in Sudan, and for us it's more difficult to kind of,
Mhm.
we're relying on people like you giving us, the bigger picture and exactly what's going on and what you're seeing. I also want to talk about the Prime Minister. He's heading to New York for talks, right, with the UN. So what's expected to come from this? And then maybe we can talk about the international community, the role, the bigger picture of like trying to end this for the people of Sudan, this catastrophe for another year,
Mhm. Yes, the Prime Minister, Dr. Kamil Idris, is heading to New York to speak there at the UN, and I believe to meet some officials there, and also our foreign ministry have done a lot of connections here and there with several countries. The head of the state, which is the Sovereignty Council, with the head of the Sovereignty Council, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and his office. They have also done some connections with several states and several foreign ministries. And I believe what they are trying to do at the moment, Dima, is to try and find some resolution for this issue, as unless you cut any road that can lead to support the paramilitary again, you won't be able to defeat the paramilitary for good. So you will keep fighting them and they will keep fighting you. So you need to speak with the one who's operating the RSF. They are heading to the UN. They are heading to, they spoke with the US representative for the US envoy to Africa and the Middle East. They spoke with several offices before. I believe there were several hearings at the Congress. So they are doing their best. They are trying to
And the
find
US
some
is
resolutions.
the US is concerned because I did hear Trump early on in the month, and he was saying that he's just found out what's happening in Sudan, and it's concerned him. So I think this is a good step forward to see how maybe this Sudan on an international level heading to somewhere like the UN can maybe shift things, it's something productive to come out of this. You know, I think that's also very, very important, especially if things are the way they are. You know, and people are starving, and this is what the situation is.
Yes, I do have something here in mind, Dima, that I don't believe that wars can be won only by weapons. You
Yep.
need to move on a diplomatic aspect also.
Absolutely.
You need to speak, you need to speak with the high officers, you need to speak with the high representatives, you need to speak with the UN, the UNSC, although they can be a little bit manipulative here. But after all, I think you will find some resolution. It might
It's
not
the best
satisfy you
place. It's
like
probably the best place to
100%,
be.
but yeah, but after all, you will find that you managed to solve something
Yeah,
significant. You managed to
absolutely.
take those people back home. People are dying, and although that you're fighting someone who is relying on foreign weapons and foreign support, but also you can take the foreign support out, or you can speak with someone who can intermediate, like have something to do with that country. You can find something to do. You can find some resolution.
Yes, for sure.
But after all, I know you can. The war can be won by talks,
Is that
but
what do you think?
who will have the upper hand
Yeah,
on the talks?
exactly. So and I think that at the end of I mean, unfortunately, we're going to come towards the end of our discussion, but I just wanted to know, what do you think sort of could be the end? How could the end come about to this war?
Well, sooner or later we'll need to negotiate, but on whose terms?
Yeah.
The RSFs and their operatives, or on the Sudanese armed forces and the Sudanese government,
Yeah.
the legitimate government of the country. So someone will need to set the terms, to set the table for the negotiation, and the other party will say, yes, I agree, I'm sorry, I agree. And
Yeah.
it will go from that point, as each and every single
But
country
that's what we
who
need to
went through
do.
such
This is what we
circumstances.
need to do.
But how can we reach the negotiation
Yes,
table, Dima?
absolutely.
This is the question.
This is the question, and hopefully the
Yeah,
next couple of days will be sort of, will give us some answers on that, I guess, and how things are going to move forward. Hopefully.
hopefully, inshallah, inshallah.
Unfortunately, though, we've come to the end of our discussion, Abdullah, and you've been amazing. Thank you so much for being here. We've talked about the beginnings of, the war, the conflict in Sudan, and we've talked about Al-Fashir, and we've talked about the figures, and we've talked about the humanitarian crisis, and women, and we've talked a lot. We've covered a lot. Unfortunately, the end of the year is coming, and the situation is still as it is, if anything worse. But thank you again, and thanks for watching. I'm Dee Metalia, your host. I'll see you next time.